Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Comedy Road podcast. I'm Jason Schuster.
I'm Lena Green.
And today we've got a great guest for you. This guy is a comedian. He's also the host of the Pocket Party podcast, and he is getting millions of views on his Instagram right now. All of his reels are blowing up. Ladies and gentlemen, Darren Carter.
Thank you for having me. Let's just jump into it.
We wanted that at the end, man.
They might not stick
around. He might just get up and go.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're like, that was the grand finale, you jerk.
Oh, man. Darren, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me put this flashlight back. Oh, gosh. These chairs are tight.
These prop comics.
I know. Hold on a second. I got another prop. I mean, that guitar.
You good? Are you comfortable?
I'm comfortable. I'm relaxed. Oh, dang.
Isn't it hard to know? In that kind of chair, you don't know how to. He's ready, y'all.
Ready to get comfortable. He's getting comfortable.
Okay, we have to dive into the early life because, I mean, you've had such an expansive career in comedy. So let's jump in there. Like, how did you start? Like,
let's jump in. You know, it's funny. I was on stage and I saw like a few people over here with notebooks and stuff, and I realized like, oh, they're comedians, you know, and so I go, hey, how long have you guys been doing comedy? And one of them had been doing it for like 10 months. The other person started like a year and a half ago, and I was like, you guys started like the one guy, I was like, you started during the pandemic? Like, he's like, yeah. Or first it was like on Zoom shows, like to the computer, and I was like, wow, like that was just, it blew my mind because I started so long ago that I was like in the real world, you know what I mean? Like I started like, I would go up in between bands, you know, in my hometown. I would go up in between bands. I did open mics. I started in college, like at community college, but it was college, and it was the speech and debate team. I do like these funny 10-minute speeches, and then there was a guy in one of the classes that was, I grew up 3 hours north of here, and so he would like drive down.
Oh, you grew up in L.A.
I grew up in California, but he would in Fresno. It's like northern L.A., but it's like 3 hours from here.
That's not even.
It's up. You know where Santa Barbara is. It's 2 hours from Santa Barbara.
It's just down the street.
But this guy would go to the Comedy Store, and he was kind of locked in our hometown. Like he knew like all these local gigs back then, and this is like when I started, you know, pretty much like right away we would get like paid some money, so it was crazy.
Wow.
And there was less comedians back then, and you were getting paid. It was crazy. Like
They gave me $1.
Yeah.
I got $1. Yes.
Yeah, it was wild. There was this guy that started it was called Mr. EE. Shout out to Mr. EE if you're watching. And he
You're still alive?
Yeah, and he had a thing. It was called the Comedy Crew, and it was called the Comedy Crew, and they would go around and they would do these shows at like, you know, bowling alleys, country bars, drug rehabs, juvenile halls, like. But hey, man, they paid $30.
Drug rehab?
Drug rehabs, yeah. It was called the Third Floor or something like that.
There's needles everywhere. You just, but I got 30 out of it. It's all right.
I got my $30 and my 15 minutes. But yeah, you got at first I did 5 minutes, but then it would grow, and he'd be like, hey, you want to close the show? Do 15, and you get paid, and sometimes you get paid more than $30. It was very, you're like in this safe bubble of like, this is great, and then and then obviously, you know, you can't just. I mean, back then you couldn't just stay in Fresno. You got to like venture out, and I got a gig at a theme park. There was a theme park. They're having auditions, and this would be before the internet really, and before phones. So their idea was that people were going to be in line for roller coasters and rides, and they're like, well, we don't want them just standing around being bored. We should be entertaining them. So they had these variety artists. You know, they were like, if you could be a stilt walker, breathe fire, if you could juggle, if you're a comedian.
We're in that.
Yeah. They're like, if you're a comedian, I'm like, oh, that sounds like I could do it. And so I remember that I saw this thing at the college, right? They had this flyer. They're like, we're having auditions for Great America, Six Flags Great America theme park. It was called Marriott's Great America back then, but it was in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. So I auditioned and I got it, and then I got to work at that theme park for a summer, you know, and
that's awesome.
it was, and that's what got me out of into the Bay and started doing like the Punchline Comedy Club and the whole Bay Area scene and stuff. But
nice.
One of my earliest bits back then got me a lot of stuff. Because back then I was young. I was like 19 and
Yeah.
had a full head of hair. And
Things have changed.
things have changed. I'm no longer 19. I purposely shaved my head, sadly.
I wasn't juggling and telling jokes at the same time.
Yeah. Dude, it was that gig was really hard to
I'm sure.
entertain. Because, I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I was like, you know, like their age, basically. People in line for the roller coaster. And I had no costume, so just a random guy. You're just a guy. Hey guys, how you doing? You know, and I remember like a couple of the big things that would hit back then, and this is a true story. I was the winner of a Bart Simpson lookalike contest.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yes.
Can you see it? I don't know. Now it's Homer. I know, sadly.
I'm
but
not going to stop seeing that now.
Don't. Yeah. Well, Homer. But yeah, so back then I would bring my hair up and spike it up, you know. And I remember like the local newspaper, the Fresno Bee. They had a Bart Simpson lookalike contest, and they were like, and my roommate goes, "Dude, you should enter this contest. You totally look like Bart." And I wasn't even trying. I was like, what? What? You know.
You're like, thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
He goes,
Take a compliment.
dude, I blew away the competition. I got $100, and they put me in the newspaper, a color picture, and everything, and so that was one of my first jokes. I used to be like, you know, hey guys, I got to tell you, I'm really excited. I won $100. I was the winner of a Bart Simpson lookalike contest. And then I would do the face. I'd go,
That should be on all your flyers.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like that deserves a freeze frame just coming right in at you.
oh, okay, let's do it again.
Why do we laugh again?
I'm trying to do the cartoon fingers. I always do that. And then the punchline. That wasn't even the punchline. I mean, that was a punchline, but and then the big. I'd be like, the money's gone. The contest is over, and I still look like Bart Simpson. But what would happen is I'd go up to these people in line for roller coasters, and it would sometimes it would work. Sometimes you know how comedy it's not the same stand-up comedy. So I'd be like, just random people standing there, right? Just remember, no phones. They're just standing there waiting for the damn ride to start. Right. And I'd be like, hey, gotta tell you guys, I'm excited. And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, because the roller coaster, it's called the Demon. It'd be all loud. It would step on your punchline. So I just want to, and they're like,
that is the worst.
That's like the ultimate heckler right there.
Yeah, and they'd be like, Martha,
the
is
Demon.
something wrong with this guy? I don't know what's going on, Martha.
Did you try to crowd work or anything? Just
a little bit, but you know, I'd only been doing comedy for like a year, so crowd work, no microphone, no speakers. It's like
It's just me and the Demon.
trying to talk to us.
exactly. This guy's trying to spit game at us, like just because I was like their age. It would be like girls might, imagine you're 19, you see other 19-year-old girls, and you're like all like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're having a good time.
You're having a good time, but you're trying to be funny. So you're like annoying and stuff. It's like, yeah. So then my boss at that time goes, you need to get a costume, so they need to know you're a comedian. I was like,
Well, your boss said get a costume
Get a
so
costume.
they know you're a
you know a
comedian.
comedian. That's how you know you've come a long way. Like,
You're like, I've made it. That's
he's like,
it.
people don't know that you're a comedian. Maybe you should get a top hat and a blinking bow tie. Something's missing. I know you know. The jokes? No. But so, yeah, then I started wearing like blue polyester pants that were bell bottoms, like
Oh my
and
God.
a white shirt, suspenders, a blinking bow tie. And then they wanted to like have me do jokes like this. Like he goes, say stuff like this. Like if they go, I almost cringe at thinking about it. Because remember, now I probably would still be uncomfortable, but now I'm like, hey, I'm a dad. It's like different, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
But not when you're 19 and the
Yeah.
people are 19, 20, even a little older. They're sexy women, and you're like,
Yeah.
you're sitting there like single and horny. Like,
You're right.
But you got to be, no, I'm a comedian. I'm not a,
Take me seriously.
take me seriously.
Right.
So these lovely ladies who walk up to you, and here's what they want you to do. They'd be like, if they're like, excuse me, do you know which way the Demon roller coaster is? They wanted me to go like this. It's that way. Oh God! And like point, and
It's in this pants.
it's in these pants. Where's my flashlight?
Darren's like,
not gonna stop, guys.
Darren's like, and that is where I met my wife.
Yeah, it's in my pants. Yeah. It's a fun ride. And you might throw up at the end.
No.
What?
The Demon. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, I remember at the time too. They, I don't know. See, back then mullets were really popular, and
I wish I could grow a mullet.
dude, I had a mullet. Let me put this damn thing.
That's
back in my
over
pocket.
for you, the
Oh
mullet.
yeah, the mullet. I know. They call it the skullet, right? When a guy has a bald head and they just grow the.
Oh, that's gross.
I remember when I first started shaving my head
skullet.
about 5-6 years ago. I used to try to do crowd work, like, hey, like trying to relate to people. I'd be like, so I go. I remember that one time this guy was in the crowd, and I go, "Hey, how long have you been shaving your head?" Because I was getting ready to be like, because I just started. And I go, how long have you been shaving your head? And the guy goes, I don't.
Oh, God.
And I realized the spotlight was so bright, and I kind of stepped to the side, and I realized he just had a super high forehead.
Oh, no. Friar Tuck.
Yeah. And then I was like, ugh, then he had like a pony. In fact, he had a ponytail. He's like, bro, I have hair. You know, like, what are you talking about? But,
oh, no.
so I learned to don't assume, like try not to.
Yeah, dark room.
Yeah.
You know.
How did that happen?
I don't know. I was like, don't do that. And also, I try not to do this either. I've learned from my mistakes. How long have you guys, how long have you been dating? Or just, because sometimes it's like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
I one time caught a mistress with, and I was like, oops, so
You caught a mistress
They
situation?
were together, but it was weird, and I kept digging in, and they were like, I was like, oh, I need to back up.
Yeah, weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The divorce attorney was like, thanks for the deal. I appreciate it.
Yeah, one time I thought I remember I was in Sacramento, and I'll never forget, Sacramento's at the Punchline. They were over here, and I something about the two ladies or something, and then the one spoke, and it was a guy. It was just a guy that was chubby and had long hair. Oh. He's like, I'm a guy. And I was like, oh, cool, man.
Yeah, right.
I just start beatboxing and change the topic,
Okay, I gotta ask, how did the beatboxing come about? Because you are a white man.
Thank you. I'm very white.
No, but
I'm whiz-eyed.
Yeah. Lena's like, so you're a white man. Yes.
It's so fun, though.
To me, thank you. I thought it was like the coolest thing growing up, man. Like when I first heard about hip hop, like in 2020, I just started hearing about it. I'll see if they caught it, but I mean, I just started getting into rap about 18.
Trying to make sure we look good behind the scenes. Yeah.
No, I remember like it was like the early '80s, and I was just like it was so cool because I had at that time it was like new to us, at least on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Hearing this music, and I was like, oh my gosh! And back then the rhymes were a little bit simpler, so tough, rough, and I was like, I could do this. I used to write raps and stuff in school, and like you said, people wouldn't expect, especially when I had the shock red hair.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was super fun back then. Like I used to be, super skinny, nerdy. Not that I'm not nerdy now, but nerdy in a different way. A young nerd,
right. A younger nerd. Yeah.
So I have a joke about white rappers. I always get them. They always want to date me, and I'm just like, it's jarring, but it's just cool. Like back then, that wasn't the thing.
I female rappers, they just throw themselves at me all the time.
Sure.
Just walking down the street, I'm like, hey, what's up?
Look, Darren.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Oh, you like the Beastie Boys?
Oh yeah, you bring that up. Let's go back to my van and listen to some tunes. The Beastie Boys. You gotta fight for your right to party, babe.
Mazel tov, bitch.
Okay, that was an inside joke from earlier.
Yeah. Inside joke.
Yeah.
All right, so
you got into it, and then
I got into it, and I would, obviously that was like you do it, especially back in the '80s. It was like I draw a crowd, like at school. One time, I remember the principal thought there was a fight because I was doing this battle rap against this guy, and he had performed at the school assembly. His name was Cool Rock J, and he went on to get a record deal actually. And remember, he had sunglasses and a trench coat.
What was your name?
That was his name. His name was Cool Rock J.
What was yours?
My name was I was the Carrot Top Kid.
Carrot Top.
I know. I'm KTK. I'm the Carrot. Yeah, all this
KTA.
KTK. The Carrot Top
They
Kid.
took you serious as Carrot Top Kid?
I kind of like, this is before the comedian Carrot Top had really hit the scene in a big way, so thank God I dropped that name, I'm shaved carrot, I'm baby carrot, but
It's funny about Carrot Top. He was pretty scrawny for a long time, and now he's just jacked up. I've ever seen him, it's crazy.
Yeah, he got buffed, and then I think he decided to not get so buff, so now he's a little bit more I think he's just on calisthenics. But he was
wow.
What?
Okay, guys, I'm glad y'all want to talk about
He's a
Carrot Top's
genetically modified carrot, you know what I mean?
Genetically modified carrot.
Dude's just like, oh yeah, he's all ripped and shit.
No, I mean seriously.
So anyways, I can be like that. Do my push-ups. I'm the other buffed Carrot Top. No, but his name was Cool Rock J, and I remember he had this signature move. He put the sunglasses on, he put his hand like this, and he would be like, Cool Rock J, whenever he'd do his thing, right? So I remember so he wanted to battle rap me, so all these kids are around me, and I remember I started with the beat and they were like, oh shit, you know. And then I go, I need some sunglasses. And they go, and then they go, give him some sunglasses. So because I want to imitate him, right? So I put the sunglasses on, and right when I put them on, and then they already were like, oh, you know. And I remember my first line, and then these kids were, you know, remember this is back in the '80s. This pre Eminem, pre Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
The Beastie Boys, I think the Beastie Boys were out at that point. I think. I look at him like he's the expert. The look on your face was clueless. You're like, I don't know when they came out.
Let me go back into the history of the Beastie Boys now. Let me tell you all about them. Yes.
You don't even know.
Bring it back.
Yeah, it was the 80s. Yeah.
I said something like, all I could do is remember part of the battle rap that I did, and it was something like, I remember back then I was sort of here. I used to like this. I go, how'd it go again? It goes, anybody have any sunglasses?
We don't have any.
You know what?
Wait.
You ain't even doing
You got the glasses.
I'm just gonna lean into it. I went from sunglasses to reading glasses. All right, this is so nerdy. All right, here we go. I go, you rhyme, slime. This is stupid. I'm not gonna relive my high school youth with reading glasses on.
I had some aviators somewhere around.
Do you have
here.
aviators?
Yeah.
Well, let's put them on.
I do have them in the other room, though. I think they're.
Oh, I don't need them. I don't need them. I don't need them. We don't want to stop the whole of this fascinating story. You rhyme, slime, slobber, and stutter. Your lips stick together like Skippy peanut butter. You say you're from New York, but you're really just a dork, like Porky Pig or Piggy Pork. You're cool rock J. J stands for joke, and that's all, folks.
Yeah.
So, thank you. That's all I remember, as if I haven't been saying it every day since 1980.
It seems like you still have it going.
But I just remember the end of it though, and then but I started out. I go because I was doing this thing. I got everyone to imitate that, and then as soon as I started the rap, they were like, "The white boy can rap." The white boy can rap. It was just
That's my people right there.
yeah.
He can rap. He got
Especially back then, it was just like what the this redhead like
Funny enough, back in the day, I used to do Rapper's Delight when I would get
You
drunk.
did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said a hip,
And a
hop,
crowd
hip to the hip,
of
you hip
people.
hop, you don't stop the rock to the bang bang boogie, you up jump to. I'm Jewish and that's it. So that's it.
I'll jump. But as soon as I did the thing, and then they're like, people were like, oh my god, you're and then especially with those specific lyrics.
Yeah.
And then I remember like the people thought it was a fight because there was a big bunch of people around.
Everybody gathers.
Like there was probably like. There might, at the time I was like, oh my, because it was as far as you could, like, it was probably like like 70 to 100, but it was just like, and they're like, break it up, what's going on, and then, so technically I won, but only because he didn't get to
do it
go
back.
against me.
Oh,
He
yeah.
Because I'm not even with my comedy, I'm like more self-deprecating, so I don't really roast people. I don't attack. So
Yeah.
he's a way better rapper. He went on to prove it.
Oh, he's a rapper
you legit-
now?
legit-
He really did. I was in New York in the early '90s, and I saw his album at a record store.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, shit, I knew he was good.
You
but,
go up to him like, you remember when I beat you?
Remember back in high school?
Could have been me or you right here.
He did ask me like a couple of weeks later. He goes, "Whatever possessed you to challenge me?" That's what he said.
He's still holding on to it.
Whatever possessed you to challenge.
I mean, he said that like 2 weeks after and I go, "Well, I figured a man with nothing ain't got nothing to lose." And he goes,
This sounds like a movie waiting to like, now.
He's like, okay. Because I remember he said something, because I would annihilate you or something. And then I remember later on I had to go look up the word annihilate. I knew it wasn't good. And they were like, yeah, he's got rhyming dictionaries. He's got this guy, like he knows his shit, man.
Yeah, this is like the great white hype right here,
Yeah.
He's calling you Rocky, basically, at that point.
Well, I mean,
what you doing?
what position?
What position?
Well, I knew I'd go first, so then they break it up. But
I wasn't expecting to win. Like,
I know, because I think
You got it, Darren. Mickey
you
and
got it. Yeah. Because there was another guy that wanted to challenge me like after that, and then I went first and lost because my stuff was stupid. It was like, it was all self-deprecating. It was all about vegetables and puns and how I was like, a carrot growing up in a garden. It was dumb. It was not. I would never win a rap.
Genetically modified carrot.
Yeah, exactly.
So when was the first time you started beatboxing in your sets? And
in the set. So I think back then, I don't even really, honestly, I don't really remember. But I want to say I probably would do it like at the end, like the final bit or something, and then I just kind of started doing it, and then just like with anything else, like you could go, like there was times that it was not for the right crowd, especially. Back in the day, like even like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, some of the older people, they weren't into it, But now I've met people that were, in their 70s that are like, yeah, I mean, look, think about it. 50 years of hip hop. There's people that are got into it in college, and now they're like in their, 70s and stuff. But back in the day, you do it. It was if they're over a certain age, they didn't like it at all. Like, I hit them with the thing, and they'd be like, ah!
Right, you're not gonna do that in like Boca Raton at the country club.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it happened to me. I was I did a veteran show in Florida, and it was like. And I was like, "Are you ready to have a good time?" I was like, "Are you ready?" And then I hit him with the, and they were like, "Wah!" I was like, So I've learned not to, but then I've gotten better at it. The crowds have gotten better, and I learned how to do it. It's like if you heard like a guitarist do a guitar solo, like if they do it the wrong way, it's like, damn, when's this thing gonna end? But you got to do it to where they still want to hear it. So So, anyways, I found that sweet spot, I think, and I pepper it throughout the comedy and. Yeah. And,
It always looks like you're having a lot of fun.
I do have fun,
like,
man.
That's, a lot.
You know what? It could be 8 people. It could be 800. I don't care. It's like, I'm going to have fun, and we're going to channel whatever that is, and let's go for it. Last night I did a show with Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah.
It was, I look at you. Do you know Tiffany Haddish? And do you know the Beastie Boys?
Have you ever heard of Tiffany Haddish? Ever heard of her? She's a very famous comic.
Yeah. It was great, though, because that crowd was, in fact, I did that there's a professional drummer in the audience, and when I was doing this one thing, he was like, because in the beginning, I don't know if you saw me, I do that thing where I go, all the sexy ladies, ladies, let me hear you say, and then they think I'm going to say like, ow, or hey, but then I hit them with the, let me hear you, all the sexy ladies, let me hear you say, and I act like I'm all serious, like, yeah. When I say, you say, or whatever, so.
I love how they're looking at you like it's you. Okay.
Yeah. But you can take that anywhere. I'll tell you. One time I produced a show in Hollywood. It's this like weird rooftop.
That was a
bar.
different room.
We were supposed to produce a show in this bigger room, but they threw us into this side room because there was a marijuana thing.
There was a lot of stuff.
On.
Yeah.
But when Darren came on, they turned the whole place on,
and that
because
was a hard room,
it was a tough.
There was a table that
everyone was smoking hookah and eating, and then Darren's doing the whole thing, and people were eating it up. But that's why I had Darren on the show, because I needed some backup there. Though,
it was really fun.
Yeah.
It's always a fun thing.
So this guy yelled out, 50 years of hip hop. He goes, no. After at the end of it, when I finished the whole beatbox thing, and everyone was laughing, and then it kind of calms down. And they're like, oh, and then everyone's like. And then the drummer guy, he yelled out, he goes, that right there was 50 years of hip hop. And then he got another thing. And so I was like, okay. So then, because, I also do the Snoop Dogg. Well, yeah, what's cracking? It's the Dico Double G, the big Snoop Dogg. Hey, what's cracking? Snoop.
Hey.
Ooh, yeah.
He's doing a face. It's the eyes for me, y'all. It's the eyes.
Dan.
And then to a bunch of
Snoop Dogg see this and be like, that's me.
For shizzle.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Really dope. Yeah.
I'm just gonna let him go.
By the way,
so
I performed at Snoop Dogg's family reunion, but we'll get into that later.
Oh, really? No, I want to hear it.
Snoop-a-loop?
Yeah, while we're talking about it. You performed at his family reunion?
I did, 2 years in a row.
What?
That's amazing.
I was at the Hollywood Improv, and his cousin saw me at the Hollywood Improv, and he goes, hey, back then the joke I was doing wasn't really that flattering. It was like, I want to see rappers get older, see how they turn, whatever, and it would be like Snoop, and it would be like Geritol is a pill that saves, man. Arthritis is a case that they gave, man. And I'd do the cracking of it. Rolling down the street to play bingo, sipping on some prune juice.
Oh, yeah,
with my mind on my bladder and my bladder on my mind. Nothing but a pee thing, baby. Medicare is a label that pays me. And Depends is a diaper that saves me. So I would do that thing, right? Basically, it was like that. And then I go, are you sure? And he goes, you'll love it. You'll do it.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So then I remember I had dinner with Snoop's mother and aunt. And they came to see me at the Ice House in Pasadena.
Yeah.
I guess they were like, well, let's see, And then at that time, I was like, let me write some other stuff. So it's not that, And then they approved me. They said, let's do it. And I performed at a very nice restaurant in Long Beach. I think it was called The Reef. Uh-huh. And then
That's awesome.
Then the following year, we did it at a hotel out by LAX. There was another reunion, and the second year was so cool.
You're just someone they bring in every reunion.
Yeah, it was wild.
Hey, let's got the guy who does Snoop Dogg one more time. Let's bring it back.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Hey, Martha, Snoop Dogg guy's coming. All right.
Yeah, and they only wanted me to do 10 minutes, which is perfect. Like 10 minutes, you hit them.
Yeah.
All right, good night, everybody. Good night. You know, it was like, and so they had, those kind of things, family reunions. You film it, and so apparently, like, and then somebody makes the best of or whatever. So as I walked into the ballroom at the hotel, on the TVs where they were playing the previous year's family reunion.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be the part where I was doing comedy. So as I walked into Snoop Dogg's family reunion, I'm like, wow, I'm on those TVs right there. This is weird. Like, I remember because it was me doing I used to do this thing about wearing a backpack, and they called me Rooster, and so I saw myself on TV where I'm doing the backpack, and they're like, hey, what's up, Rooster? Come on, do my homework. Come on, gallo. I know you hear me, puto. And I was like, I'm a rooster or whatever. So it was that part of the bit. And then so the second year, Snoop Dogg introduced me. Because at that point he was familiar with me, and that was pretty surreal.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It was something like he goes, hold on, let me get a little water.
Show some aviators with that.
Yeah. He goes, our next performer. This is one before I shaved my head. He's red on top. He's got red hot jokes. And then he says something else, blah, 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 Darren Carter or whatever. And so I went up there and did my thing, and it was like Snoop Dogg, and then Warren G was there, and it was cool.
Like Snoop, leave the jokes to the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They told me not to curse, which is fine. I was like, I'm not really
Out of Snoop Dogg?
Yeah, my grandmama's out there.
Right.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah.
No gangster rap today, man. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead. I mean, it was like you've all in your past you did a lot of impressions too.
Yeah.
Right.
Mostly in the past.
In the past.
Sometimes but I do them on the phone. Like I'm talking to somebody and they're like, "You do it really good," and then if I try to do it again, it doesn't come out the same. But if when I'm in the moment and you're telling the story.
Yeah.
But I probably could work on that, I think.
As someone who does currently do impressions.
Oh, you do impressions? Yeah.
What was your inspiration back in the day for getting into doing impressions?
Probably that, like telling your friends stories, and then they're like, "You could do that," and then I used to write down like, "Oh, I can do this," and then at the time I was probably doing the most common impressions that everyone was doing, but that's and then you know how it is. You start to imitate your friends, or you're retelling a story, and then as you're retelling it, you're becoming that person. Then
well, for me, it was started because I used to impersonate the rabbi at my synagogue, and he's from Israel, and my aunt would constantly tell the rabbi that my nephew does an impersonation of you, and one time I was at the gas station, and he pulled up. And he's this big, burly Israeli guy, and I was pumping my gas, and he goes, "Jason, how are you, Jason?" I go, "Oh, hey, well, he's a cantor, not a rapper. Like, it's a Cantor Albrecht, how are you?" He's like, "Hey, how are you?" And I was like, "Fine." And he's like, "Okay, now, do me." I said, "Do you?"
Yeah.
Right here at the gas station? Yeah, do me. Come on. So I was like, "All right, how are you?" I was like, "All right, okay. Well, how are you?" And next thing, I love it, Jason. This is amazing. Cars are like passing by, looking at me like I'm just standing. You can imagine passing by and you see the cantor and me going back. I'm going, and he's going, and just going back and forth. But that's where I started, and because it spread in my town that I could do the cantor, and then it just started, let's try to do this other person and this other guy, So
that's good, because I can see it being awkward too. Like if the person doesn't like the impression, don't talk like that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like right there, just.
Well, it's not supposed to be dead. It's funny when it's a little off, right? When it's like you put your own little spin on it. There's something that you bring to it. Like if y'all both did Snoop Dogg, it would probably be different. You'd probably do it different. Yeah. So,
everyone has a variation.
I've learned, and I learned to take it off my resume, because I used to hate doing bios, the whole bio thing.
Yeah.
But then you get someone that's like, you're going to need a bio. But then the only time that people would look at my bio is when I was about to do an interview, like to do radio or something, like, when you're going on the road. And they'd be like, because I think what happens is they just, who is this guy? We never heard of him. He does, impressions, and they just circle it, and they'd be like, but I didn't know that it was on my bio, or I forgot about it, because I'm like, because nowadays people go to the Instagram, they go to TikTok, they're not really looking at your website, I guess. I didn't. But I remember one time I was in Kansas City, and they were like, "So what impressions do you do?" And to me, I'm thinking this is out of left field. And I was like, I go, well, I don't really do any. And they were like, really? Like, you don't do any impressions? I go, well, when I was young, I used to do. Gosh, what did I used to do? And it was like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they thought I was playing hard to get, almost like I save it for the show.
Get it out of here.
You know. And then at one point, because I think I did for them, I did like Michael Jackson, like talking, and I did Elvis. Like when I was 8, I would do Elvis, like a room, but you know, as a kid. But then Michael, I would do him talking. And then I remember the lady goes, "Do you do anyone that's alive?"
Right.
I was like, "Gosh, this lady."
Jesus, harsh, huh?
It was a very short segment, and then I was on for maybe 4 minutes. It was weird because I was supposed to be on longer. And then I go, "That was so weird." I told the guy that drove me there, and he goes, "Yeah, that was weird." He goes, "I don't know why." I go, "Why would they be so weird to me, man?" He goes, "Let me go find out." And then he goes, "That's when he told me." He goes, "Oh yeah, they thought you were like an impersonator, like Frank Caliendo or one of these great guys."
Because people love that.
Yeah,
That's
they love it.
something.
And then they thought I was playing hard to get, and I'm like, "Why would they think I do impressions?"
You're just like trying to play cool, like, and then you just bust out all this stuff.
Yeah, I was sitting there going, I talk about my wife, my family, I'm thinking that's what I talk about now. Why would they? I go, I do characters. Like, we'll do a character for it. Like, they were getting pissed at me.
They want
it. Yeah. And then they told me, well, and then the lady, she goes, it's on it's in your resume. And she goes, it's on your website. And I was like, we need to take that down. Take that down, dude. Like, yeah. So
You don't think you ever come back to doing that?
I probably would if I were, I guess, if I found out who I would imitate and then
someone fun that
nail it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can do like, do you even know these people? Like they're comedians. Do you know like I can do Sam Tripoli's laugh.
Yeah.
Because I hear him laugh, and let me see. He laughs like this, like.
that sounds like.
That does sound like Sam Tripoli.
That sounds like someone else too.
I can do Dean Del Rey when he goes, "Killer."
Yeah.
Those are so specific.
But those are little,
they're too specific. I need to get like broader.
But those are like little things that people pick up on. You know, it's like the little things, and and then the key I've always found is you just gotta make a little bit of a bit out of it. You can't just do a straight up. Let me do Al Pacino for you right now. And just do. It's not that funny. If you just but if you tie it in with your act. And make it part of and you weave it in, then it now becomes has life to it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Now. So let's go back.
Sure.
So you from your amusement park days. Where we were there.
Oh yeah.
So
how did you not quit? Such a
really, that's what. How did you
oh
not
my
quit?
gosh! We would do like 11 shows a day. It was 10 shows, and then I counted the 11th one because you do the announcement before the ice skating show. So it's still kind of, you had to be there. You know, like you had to be like, if they're at 4:15 to do this announcement. So it was a lot of stage time. I mean, you're on stage like another show and another show and another show and another show. So that really. Between like the speech and debate team and then like doing the open mics when I became a little older, then doing that show, you're doing all these shows, and then you learn to break away from your material a little bit because you have to like make it happen. The shows were 15 minutes long, opening up for like dancing puppets or whatever. The best one was at a saloon. They had like an on, not on campus, but at the park there was a saloon, and that was the most that felt like there was like peanut shells, and you opened for a band and.
Wow.
So
that's funny. So from there, you're doing your thing in Fresno, right? Yeah. And you're building up your name. Was the goal to ultimately get to Los Angeles?
Yeah, it was so I moved to the Bay, and that was back then. There was a big comedy scene there, and so I did that for a couple of years, and then I got picked up on this college tour where we'd get in a van and there'd be 3 comedians. You drive all across. You'd go to Grand Rapids, Michigan, pick up the van, and then go from college to college. Like these guys would book you from August 21st, whatever, up until Thanksgiving.
Was that NACA? Is that what?
I think it was like.
Was that around?
It was not NACA. NACA is like the National CSC.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know NACA, it's like the college tour association. So you audition and then they'll book you, for different gigs.
Yeah, this was different. This was like almost like non-union. This is like if NACA is union, this is like non-union. But at the time, it was great because you got good money and I was single. You're young. You're like no ties. So you're like, all right, I'm on tour like a band. You're like literally like you get in the van, you drive to the show, you'd stay at the hotel. Sometimes there was no hotel. And so you're like, well, right. Most of the time there'd be a hotel, but if there wasn't a hotel and then you're like, all right, let's just drive all night to the next gig, and then there'll be a place there for us. But it was really, really neat to see like parts of the country I'd never even been to. Yeah, I'd been to the Midwest and then West. So at that point, I'd never been to like York, Pennsylvania, or Plattsburgh, New York, or
right.
Boca Raton, Florida. Now I know what those places look like and feel like. At the time, they're just words you hear.
And was that always your goal, that you wanted to be on the road as a comic, touring?
Kind of, but that kind of stopped it for me. After
that,
you're like, this is too much.
Once I got to Pottstown, Pennsylvania, that was it.
I'm sitting here like, that is too. You're talking
it's too much, way too much. It's like,
was there did you feel a sense of burnout at some point?
Yeah, you do feel a little bit burned. It was really fun and exciting the first semester or whatever, and then it was a little bit less fun the next time, but then now you're starting to build up, get money. I was like, okay, I got money in the bank now, and I got my own apartment, and I bought a used.
So you're making money where you could survive. You weren't working another job.
No, that was just, it was all that.
Wow, you went all in at that point.
Yeah, that was all in, and it was great, because especially at that time, as you're single, it's just you, and I moved to San Diego. And from the Bay Area, I moved to San Diego, and then I did that for about a year and a half, and I would drive up to LA, and then once I got past the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory, and also at that time I booked a Miller beer commercial, and I got a part in a movie, and I was like, well, the signs are here, let's go to LA, it's time. Mm-hmm. And I remember I even did that thing with Jamie where you stand in the line at the Laugh Factory on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
They're still doing that.
They're still doing it.
They still do that, right? And what time do they? I heard it's a little bit easier now. I don't know.
I've personally never done it. So
I was going to go last week with a friend, and she went, and she said you get there early, and then it's still like a thing, and then they talk to you afterward, and they give you some notes. But
do they take the first 20 people?
They take the first 10 people, and then it's a lottery or something. So
back then it was like they take the first 20. At that time, back in the mid-'90s, I remember that they said, yeah, you got to be one of the first 20 people in line. You could do the open mic at the Laugh Factory. I remember driving up to LA to the Laugh Factory, getting there at 2 in the afternoon, and there was already like 20 people. I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. And they go, yeah, you got to get here early, like 10 a.m. I was like, are you serious? And I remember, I just drove here from San Diego, and some girl had been already standing there for like 3 hours. She's like, you know what? I got stuff to do. She's like, you could have my spot. I was like, really? Thank you. And at that time, I'd already been doing comedy for 6 years, which was, and remember, this wasn't like 6 years of 2 minutes here. This is like headlining, middling, that college thing. Like, I was like ready, man. Like,
right.
And so I remember I did it, and Jamie really liked me, and he goes, come back next, in like 2 weeks. And so I came back. Basically, like the third time I went, he was like, he wanted to start working with me. And
it's awesome.
This is the thing. If you guys, I'll give you a hot tip. If you ever do anything like that, if you're like experienced and the other people aren't, but you have to do this thing, this group of 20. I remember because back then you could choose your number, and I would always choose 19.
19.
That way I could go in there, crush, and then an amateur would have to follow me, and they could really see the difference. I know, it's true. I was like, and another thing I would do is this is hilarious, but I would do it though, and it killed. It would work because remember I've been 6 years of comedy, and so they'd be like, okay, here's our whatever Darren Carter. And I'd go up there and I'd be like, hey, how about a hand for all the open micers you saw? Like, I'd act like that portion of the show was Oprah. Give it up to those guys, those young kids.
You gotta be confident to do that.
Yeah. But then I did, though. It was like, and I just hit him with the laughs, and then the next person would be, because, we're talking out of the 20 back then, there'd be like maybe 2, like you plus 2 others. And then the rest were just like, my agent told me I should try this, and so they were all just their first time. It wasn't like real comedians. It was homeless people that were a little cuckoo, and it was just a banana. The whole line was
crazy. What happened at a mic? A homeless person came in and actually did really good at the mic.
That's bad.
I hope it was
sad when you're like.
I hope it was a free mic. Was it a free mic?
Yeah. It was
oh yeah, now they pay to do this thing. Oh my gosh.
You got to pay to play.
So much.
Yeah,
everything's a business. So
can you imagine? I can't imagine it's happening. I don't want to. I have a friend he's kind of starting out, and he tells me these nightmare stories. He's like, then they do it at this one play. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds terrible.
You don't do mics anymore.
No. The closest I do to that would be like flappers. Like they'll have me like close something, and I still get that thing in my stomach where I'm like, oh gosh. But then you realize like there's such a wide gap between what I'm doing and what they're doing, because it's not like we see each other all the time.
No.
It's tougher when you guys are all seeing each other all the time.
Yeah.
Like you see each other like 50,000 times, and then so you know.
Well, that's how I met Lena, was that when we were starting out at an open mic.
yeah.
So, but mics are great in that aspect because you never know who you're gonna meet or build a friendship with from that, and because you're kind of in it together, and
totally,
you know, you have the camaraderie.
My first roommate I got from that open mic, or that thing. We're in the line. I'm like, I need to move to LA, and he's like, hey, I have a room. We're renting. I was like, really? And then
I feel like everything just fell into place where like it was meant to be. You just stayed the course. It wasn't forced.
I think so, but you know what, man? It's like that. I think that happened. Yes, thank you, and that's how I feel. Like, but then then sometimes things do, like you get that stumble. You're like, dang, because when things clip along pretty fast, you're
scary. You're like, oh,
yeah, but you just think it's supposed to happen,
right?
You know,
but sometimes when things are going a little too well, you're like, well, wait a minute.
I know someone who blew up huge, and they'd only been doing comedy for a few years, and they were like, this is my calling. God chose me for this. But I'm like, how would you not think that? You know, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it makes I mean, if out of nowhere all of a sudden things are hitting and
you're in theaters, like less than 5 years in,
that's insane.
You're like, I was born to do this, but everyone probably thinks they're born to do it,
Yeah.
But sometimes you hit those stumble blocks. Or I am born, because I have a friend that's still kind of struggling, and he's, it's hard. It's hard.
It's a hard industry.
It's hard for all of us. It's hard for me. It's hard, right?
Yeah, and you're also trying to grow and make money doing it and putting food on the table as a comic. So I wanted to kind of touch on that. Was there at any point in time when you were doing comedy where you were like, how am I going to make this a real career? Or was there never like hesitation that, you know what, I'm going to do this?
And with those bumps and stuff.
Because you mentioned bumps.
Yeah. Like, okay, you might get a bump. Like the biggest movie I ever did was, I think I'm in about 7 or 8 or 9 movies. I don't know, but some of them were just like, I had a management company, and they would be like, hey, you want to be in this movie with Master P, And I was like, sure. So it was like me and Dr. Ken. I was just telling a friend of this today. Can't remember Ken Jeong. You know Ken Jeong?
Mm-hmm.
Ken.
He was a doctor, I think, before.
Yeah, so I know it was Dr. Ken, but I think they call him, now he's just Ken Jeong.
Yeah.
And so like we all had the same management, and and so I was in this movie, but you'd go there for like on a Saturday and be in some scenes, and that's it,
Yeah.
So there's all these little movies, right? But then the biggest one was Be Cool. It's a sequel to Get Shorty. And I did a couple scenes with John Travolta. But not much longer after that, my agent got, I'm not going to say got fired, but something happened. So she had to leave that big agency and go somewhere else. And I was like, and I remember calling her, and she goes, I need to secure my $1 million clients. Can we talk next week? And I was like, sure. And then,
what?
And then, so she had to go on,
She'll like, how you doing today?
You're not important to me.
Exactly. I need to get Ray Romano on the phone right now. I need to get Eddie Murphy. I don't need you in your little one scene.
Yeah. Take your one scene and get out of here. I got to go Schwarzenegger real quick.
Exactly.
So well, too. You're like, okay.
Call me later. Next week. So there's like those kind of things where you're like, whoa.
It's jarring.
It's jarring. It is jarring because you're like, I'm on my way up, like things are happening, and you're doing gigs on the road, you're coming back, your movie, people recognize you a little bit here and there, and then then it's like that reminds me, that's another thing I had to take off my resume. At the time I used to be on BET. There's a show.
What show were you on
I know.
BET?
Well, I was on a sketch show for 2 years, but before that I was there was a show called Comic View.
Yeah.
BET's Comic View. So Comic View, I probably did it like 6 or 7 years, every other year, sometimes 2 years in a row, that kind of whatever, just sporadically. But then they would also cut it up, so they'd be like best of, or the white guys, or impressions, or at that time I was known for like this Bill Clinton thing, and I would be like, what was the bit I said? It was something about how he was still in office, so I'd be like, when Bill, after he leaves the White House, he's gonna be like those losers that would come back to your high school and cruise around at lunchtime. And so I did the lowrider, and I go, sup. Big ups to my boo Hillary, that's my baby's mama. Hillary's got my back and Monica's got my front. Whatever. White House, can I bust a nut? Whatever the popular words were at the time.
Comedy Road Podcast right here. 2 bills at one time.
Exactly. Yeah. We're going to hit it and quit
off,
but at that time, it was like fun to do. People loved it. And I remember I get a standing O and I do, like, that's right, I'm back, biatch, whatever. Take it away, Snoop. So it was a lot of fun, and they would air it a lot, so you get seen a lot. And you know, I remember like I there was one time I was on an airplane, the flight attendant recognized me, and she's like, "We have room in first class."
Oh,
God. It would be real. And you know, I go by Darren, but then I do this bit where I'm like, "I'm not Darren, I'm Darren." So sometimes people will be like, "What's up, Darren?" And she'd like, "Darren, you want to come in the front?" So I remember like, and it was funny because it was a flight. I wish it was like to like Paris or some long flight.
No.
It was from Kansas City to Cleveland. You know, like,
Yeah.
It wasn't very. It was like a half-hour flight, and I'm like, I'm in first class for like a half hour. But,
Right.
felt real special.
yeah, exactly. But another time I got recognized at the Ventura County Fair, and I remember the guy that was running the bumper cars recognized me, and he was like, "Yo, Darren." He's like, don't stand in that line. I got you. And so I'm there with my kid in the bumper cars. And I remember later on, my wife was like, "Oh my, how the mighty have fallen. You're getting bumped to the front of the line at bumper cars at the Ventura County Fair."
Guys, the
But,
guys like,
Your wife sounds
remember me? I used to work at the amusement park with you back in the day.
It's that way.
Yeah.
Which way is VIP that way?
Bart
No.
Simpson, zoom in.
Yeah. So that was a thing on my resume back in the day where my friend goes, "You got to put it out there that people recognize you." And so he wrote like he gets recognized on the daily, you know? which is ridiculous when you don't get recognized.
Yeah.
Why would you put that on your?
Because at the time I was like, "Get me out there! I get recognized on the daily." Because it was kind of true at the time, but then there's a time where it's not recognized on the daily, and that's where it looks pathetic. It looks sad. Like,
Oh, jeez.
yeah, it's like, dude, you're not getting recognized. I know.
On the daily
I know.
too.
Yeah, that was like I realized about.
Is
yeah.
it bold?
Yeah, because it was one of those things. It was on the resume. It was on the resume. Dude, I'll tell you. Actually, you know who wrote it for me? This sounds like, especially not the scandal. Hassan Minaj wrote that for me. I'm not even.
No.
Yeah, he did back in 2008.
It was a lie.
Yeah. It turned out to be a lie. But at the time, I did get recognized on the daily. But yeah, because he helped me write my resume back then. He was like, anyways, whatever. That's a long story.
The weirdest thing I've ever heard someone put on their resume.
But also amazing at the same time.
He gets recognized. I know. Shout out to Esther Koo. I did her podcast like 5 years ago, and she's like, once again, an interview, and she's like, "I just printed out your resume, and I want to get to this part. It says you get recognized on the day." And I was like, "Esther, we wrote that in 2008, man. Like, you know what? Like,
that should be a running bit in one of your sets.
It gets recognized on the daily. I know, it's so ridiculous.
So
Yeah.
when you're here, you're back here in Los Angeles, and let's take it back for a second. Did you kind of build a tribe of comedians that you rolled with? Like,
I did. Can I go back to this recognized on the daily thing? Real quick?
Yeah.
I swear to God, there was a time.
But before you got recognized on the daily.
Yeah. Oh, well, let me get this recognized.
Yeah, let's take it.
So I was in Miami Beach. Jay Davis can vouch for this. Jay was touring with Dane Cook. They did Tourgasm, and we were in Miami Beach for the day, and then doing the show at the night.
Yeah.
And he counted. He goes, "I want to count how many times you get recognized." And it was like at the time it was like 19
This
people.
is such a guy thing.
Yeah, exactly. He goes, "Dude." He goes, "I got to be honest. You get recognized more than dude. You get recognized more than Dane, dude." Like,
Yeah.
at the time, and then Dane would be like, "Sup?" I got recognized 17 times. But it doesn't matter because it's not money in the bank getting recognized. I remember talking to Bobby Lee about that.
Yeah.
And Bobby, I go, you know, it's kind of worn off now. Like the luster of getting recognized.
Yeah.
It's like, I go, and Bobby was like, "Yeah, because you work so hard for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you finally get you're like, yes, people recognize. And then after a certain amount of time, you're like, okay, I'm getting recognized, but now I need to like, capitalize. Like, are they, can I sell out these shows? Can I do this? Can I do that? Yeah.
It hasn't correlated where
it did, but at that time I got to be honest, it did not.
Wow.
Because like, I swear I was also a rude awakening. We're in Miami Beach. I'm like, I got recognized like 19, 20 times. Not one of those people came to the show. So it's like, they just recognize you. Like,
Right.
Hey, buddy, I see.
hey,
But I got recognized,
yeah.
Yeah.
But now it wasn't see, now with social media, there's more
that's
of a
what I was about to
connection.
say.
Back then it was like,
Okay, I'm gonna follow you. It's like I recognize you now. I'm gonna follow you and see what you're up to. And keep up
and then they'll
with
see
you.
the videos, and then they'll comment, and then you guys will have a relationship. You know,
yeah,
you'll go live and stuff. There's
Yeah,
interaction.
yeah.
Back then it was like, oh, I saw the guy, and then that was it. And then you know.
Wait, was it easy for you to transition into that social media period because you were around before it was the big thing, and now it's such a.
I love doing that stuff. I do.
I do. You're the first person who
I love
like,
it. I love it because it's like I do remember that time you had to go through the gatekeepers. You got to go audition. You had to go. Darren, you have an audition tomorrow. You know, and I go to Santa Monica or whatever. And now I'm like, oh, I can just open up my phone, boom, and then especially when things take off. Yeah. That's when you really, because things were not really taking. They were just slowly going up pre-COVID. You know, like my goal was I got to get 3,000 subs on YouTube, and then eventually, boom, things took off for me on YouTube a little bit, you know, and then TikTok.
What was the defining thing that
the first thing that took off for me on TikTok was I did this. I do this bit where I go, I like my women. I'm Darren, that thing, you know. I'm Darren. You call me Darren. I like my women like I like mine, and I name a couple things that people yell out some stuff. And then the first one on TikTok, I think somebody yelled out. I forget what they yelled out. Was it IKEA or something? And then that one took off, and that got like 3.5 million, and then more, but then Instagram really took off. That's where like it happened all pretty recent.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Where it was like I went from like, and that's what I'm saying. You guys were only one video away from something huge happening,
right?
Because I went from 10,000 to like got into the teens, like 17,000, and I remember thinking like when I would see people with 18,000, and I'd be like, damn, I wish I was like, and then boom, I went, and then it got to like 40,000, and then 100K on a Monday. It was like 100K.
Because we were sharing it, and people loved.
They were sharing. It was so good, and then like celebrities started like sharing it and getting into it, and then I remember it was really a very exciting time when you hit refresh and it goes up like 70,000, 71,000. You're like. It's almost addicting because you're like, hit refresh and you get another 1,000.
This approval, and it's like they like me. This is the approval.
And they start asking, when are you going to come to Denver? When are you going to come to Paris? When are you going to come to Australia? When are you going to come to the UK? When are you going to? And you're like, and so now it's like up to 143K, which I know by some people's standards maybe they get way more, but I'm telling you right now, once you get like even like 70,000, things do change because people will start reaching out to you. You'll go live now. More people are interacting. It's like you know.
And do you...
And also, the only thing you can just control what you can control, because, you know, my son's a musician. He just turned 16. And I tell him, you know, as much as we don't want to get how many people are watching, but still, what else can we do? What video do we have in our mind that we can need to edit and get out there, or, you know...
That's just a question that's come up so much with comedians. Like, what do you post? When to post? Yeah. Is that a thing? How long is that going to be a thing? Because some people hate it.
Because do you post? Do you work with somebody for your social, or do you do it all on your own?
I do it all on my own, but I love it though, because I don't like relying on other people. I got so tired. Back in the day, I used to have an editor that I work with. I'd pay him, and we'd sit there, and I don't like relying on people. I love it. That's what I'm saying. I love it because I can you know, take my video that night. Put it into iMovie. I use iMovie still, and then I take that's the 35 seconds I want, or that's the 1 minute. Then I upload it, get to my phone. Now I'm using like, you know, a little bit of InShot, maybe a little bit of CapCut, get it down. You know, I do the paid version so I can brighten up the screen.
I love
you know?
CapCut. It's great.
Yeah. CapCut's great, right?
Great.
Did the text, the thing, and then you get better at. The more you do it, the more you're gonna get better at. You realize like,
I don't hesitant.
Yes, I used to like try to do crowd shots. Like, look how packed it is. And I realized that doesn't, they just want to see.
And I don't care. They just want to see. And
I used to want to show people clapping and going nuts. And like, they don't care about that. Like, and also, like, even I would show like the first 6 seconds of people applauding at the previous jokes. I realized I don't need that. You just need to like start. You know, I learned to zoom in now. Like, so sometimes I zoom in, and then
the algorithm likes it when you're actually zoomed in.
So it's zoomed in as fast, but
yeah. You play around with it a lot on your.
But just practicing it and then putting it out there, and then also, like, if a video doesn't do that well, like, okay, time to put another one up. You know?
For sure. Because actually, I've learned that when you put a reel out, it doesn't always go to your audience. It goes to other people, and the algorithm sends it out. So it's interesting. We have a couple more minutes, so I want to ask you a couple things. But the first thing I wanted to ask you was, what advice can you give to our audience for any aspiring comedians about
staying in this
and how to get on the road?
I think back to what we were saying earlier, like to stay in it is just keep, you know, don't forget to write, you know, because it's another thing I do is I set aside time to write. And then as I'm editing, I'm also like writing down, oh, that was good. Or, oh, dude, that was waste. That was by filming myself. Because I used to always just audio tape and listen. And sometimes I wasn't that good about listening, but sometimes I was. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to go to a coffee shop, get into my own world, put the headphones on, be in my own audience, listen, and take notes. And that's when I noticed I would get much better doing that.
Yeah.
And now with video, I see like, oh, I'm doing aimless moving. I don't need to move around like that. Just try to plant my feet more, learn to do certain expressions. I dropped all the cursing from me personally, unless it's really necessary. It just opens more doors for me, you know.
Yeah. Because you do families, you're bringing in like family stuff.
And I used to get nervous. Like they were like, "Hey, can you do this clean thing?" I'm like, "Oh, I can do like 10 minutes," and then it got to the point where I'm like, I don't really worry that much. Like, but that's just me because I used to curse like too much. You know? So I just watching yourself makes it a little bit better.
People hate watching themselves. I hate it.
I know it's like it's very. I know, but once you get past it, you're like,
you have to get past that. Yeah.
That's why I started with listening to myself. I'm like, let me just listen. You know,
I won't listen to myself.
But that's how you will get better though. It's very. I know what you're saying because it's like there's times where I'm like, but then there's times I'm laughing. My wife's like, "You're laughing at yourself." I'm like,
when I watch myself, I'm like, I'm usually faces.
I'm usually laughing when it's like a riffing or something in the moment or something crazy that I forgot I did and it was on a tape from a year ago. Like that thing I did. I just put up a video yesterday and I forgot I knew that I did it, but I didn't see how it looked, and I'm like, that's actually pretty funny. It was. The way the spotlight hit me from behind, I go, oh look, I look like, because the bald head and the ears, it looked like Michael Jordan. And then someone goes, Homer.
You're too generous to yourself.
Exactly. I know. That's why it was funny. I was like, that looks like that iconic picture. Michael Jordan, you know. And then,
it's very high self-esteem.
Very high self-esteem.
That's another thing you have to be in this business. Delusional.
That's what I always say.
You have to be delusional.
Delusional
It
as
is a fact.
fuck. What's next for you? Like shows coming up?
I filmed a special and it's
yes.
thank you. Yeah, I filmed a special. Yes. And it's supposedly coming out very soon. They said this month, so we'll see.
Okay.
And
where can people find it?
And they can find it all over. It's going to be everywhere. It's one of those dry bar specials.
Okay. Yeah.
And
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's dry bar, and they have their whole market. Which I remember I was in an Uber in Dallas, Texas. Like a year and a half ago. And this guy goes, the guy actually said this to me. He goes, hey, have you ever done dry bar? Do you know any dry bar? Because I told him I was a comedian. And I was like, well, this is cool. Like the public's talking about this. Because a lot of comedians talk about it.
It's a huge rite of passage.
I have a friend that's did one. And he goes, yeah, there's moms are getting ready for school. They just put dry bar on because it's comedy, it's lighthearted, and they don't have to worry about this or that. So, but I did special, and I'm also in another movie. It's I play a correction officer. You know, it was Paul Rodriguez and all these actors are in it. All these big time. I don't know who's cut and who's not. So I don't know.
I know you got to wait before you.
Exactly. I'm like
DVD.
Cut you out.
I don't know. They're like, I thought you said, you know.
All right. Well, we have one very important question for you before you wrap up today. Darren Carter.
Yes, sir.
What is suspenseful? We're going to build it up right now.
Doing a little musical accompaniment.
Yeah.
Basket.
What is your favorite ice cream?
My favorite ice cream.
He has been knocked up.
I like my women like I like my ice cream. Split with the banana in the middle.
Hey.
Give me one. I like my women like I like my
toes.
10 of them in my bed. I like my women like I like my
orange juice.
Orange juice, freshly squeezed.
He can go forever.
You guys want to throw one out?
Pillow.
I like my women like I like my what?
Pillow.
My pillow. I like my women like I like my pillow. Firm, soft. 4 of them on my bed. 1 around my neck and ready for a fight.
Oh my God.
Like a pillow fight, right?
So fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. What a great time, and we really appreciate you being on today.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks for having me, Darren Carter, the party starter. You guys are delightful, and thanks for having me on your big podcast. I appreciate it.
Yay.